So last week, I think it was like last Tuesday or so, Ray Fisher put out a tweet, unprompted, I might add, posted this video from SDCC 2017. I believe it was a couple months before Justice League was set to release, but they'd already done all the reshoots and everything. But in the video, he says, Zach picked a great guy and Joss Whedon to come in and finish up the movie. And he posted this tweet and he said, "I'd like to take a moment to forcefully retract every bit of this statement." That in itself was pretty major, going completely against Joss Whedon. There's a lot of people for a while now that have known that Joss Whedon is a pretty shitty person. His wife, even a couple of years ago, penned a letter, 2017 I believe is what it was, outlining how terrible Joss is as a person, how emotionally manipulative and abusive he is, and that he's essentially a fake feminist and uses his leverage in Hollywood and his power and position in Hollywood to hold up this mask of how great of a person he is, when in reality he's extremely shitty. And there's even some people, I don't know more about this, but I had some people responding to me on Twitter talking about how his behavior has been like this since the days of Firefly. His on-set treatment of the cast for Firefly was not good either, which is not surprising to me. But then after Ray tweeted this first one out, 2 days later, he came out and said, Joss Whedon's on-set treatment of the cast and crew of Justice League was gross, abusive, unprofessional, and completely unacceptable. He was enabled in many ways by Geoff Johns and John Berg. Accountability is greater than entertainment. Yeah, this one is definitely the one that kind of set everything on fire. Like, the first one was very much like a shot across the bow, and it was like, okay, this is a conversation that's happening. And then he came out and said this, which for a while there's been a lot of hearsay and rumors and what have you about Joss's behavior on the set of Justice League and how he was or wasn't. And so then for Ray to come out and say this, put it bluntly, that he was abusive, unprofessional, and just unacceptable, is not surprising, unfortunately, but it's a very big deal that Ray has come out and said this. Sucks that it takes someone of this magnitude to say something before people start listening, because as I said, people have been saying this about Joss for a while now. But the fact that Ray is saying this and then it's put it on so many people's radars is good. But the thing, I've said this so many times, it's so easy to not be a piece of shit. It's so easy to not be a shitty person. I don't understand these people that just continue to flaunt and abuse their power and the positions that they're in and just absolutely mock and tear down and belittle and abuse the people around them. And there's varying reports about what has and hasn't happened specifically on the set of Justice League. So I know some people are like, well, I want more details about, this is really vague. And they're not believing what Ray is saying, kind of, which I don't fucking get. I'm absolutely going to believe what Ray is saying. I want more details, yes, just so I know exactly what Joss did. That way I can specifically call him out for doing these things, these specific details. But this enough, I already thought that Joss was a shitty person before this, but this just cements it even more. Some people say that Joss was very obvious, that Joss was completely shit-talking Snyder's version of Justice League on the set with the cast and crew that's comprised of the people that made that movie, that made Zack's version of Justice League. He was talking shit about what Zack wanted to do with it. Apparently he was completely disrespectful to the cast and crew. There's one scene that I'm not going to put the image on the screen because it's disgusting, but the scene in Justice League when Flash falls on Wonder Woman's chest and then gets up, there's conflicting reports about the details of how this happened. We do know that it was a body double for Gal, because where she either was approached to do the scene by Joss and said, hell no, I'm not doing that, and he apparently berated her, said he would end her career, things of that nature. And so then he used a body double and did it anyways. Or the other story that I've seen is that he just didn't approach her at all because he knew that it wouldn't fly, and then used a body double to do it anyways. And the first time, regardless, in both instances, that she saw that scene was at the premiere for Justice League, because she didn't know that it had been filmed and put in the movie, which is fucking disgusting. And absolutely, you don't do that. I really don't fucking understand that. So this is literally just the tip of the iceberg as far as shit coming out even more, because up until this point, the behind the scenes stuff for Justice League, a lot of it has been speculation, hearsay. We haven't had concrete facts. We haven't had a lot of people that were on the set come forward and say stuff. There's been some instances, but a lot of it people will doubt and whatnot. And so for Ray Fisher, Cyborg, who, for the record, had an extremely important and pivotal role in Justice League, in Zack's version of Justice League, his role was gutted in Joss's version. And so Ray is just coming out basically and fuck this guy. This guy sucked. I hated working with him. He was completely unprofessional and unacceptable. And so that's a very big deal. We need to listen to Ray. Obviously, we need to listen to everyone when they're telling these stories because we have to believe them and we have to hold these people accountable for their shitty actions. Other part of Ray's tweet, which really sucked to see, honestly, he was enabled in many ways by Geoff Johns and John Berg. So this one sucks. I tweeted after seeing this, I said, based on Ray's comments, I'm extremely disappointed in Geoff Johns. I want to know more about the situation. Enabled is an important word choice because it could just mean that Johns had a hand in Whedon being put in the director's chair with as much freedom as he had. But it could also be much, much worse, and that fucking sucks. I absolutely believe Ray and the rest of the cast and crew and anything that the rest of the cast and crew have to say on the subject. We've got to believe people. We have to hold people accountable for their actions, regardless of how we feel about whatever stories they've told. I want to hope that Geoff is more guilty in negligence than anything else, but guilt in negligence is still extremely shitty and should not be excused. The whole situation sucks, and it's sad and abhorrent that so many people are so shitty. So I tweeted that, which I 100% agree with, obviously. That's why I said it. The situation got fucking worse. After this happened, multiple women came forward with stories. Johns flirting with them and making advances towards them while they were underage and Geoff was married. Yeah, that fucking sucks. It's so fucking disappointing, dude. Like, it's so disheartening, and I don't understand. I said this already in this video. I don't fucking get it, man. Like, why would you do that? I really don't get it. It just really sucks that someone who I've not necessarily looked up to, but some of my favorite stories are, written by Geoff Johns, and he's responsible for a lot of the landscape of DC Comics over the last 20 years almost at this point. Maybe longer. I don't know exactly when he started writing for them. And so to see and to hear that what he's done and how he's acted and how irresponsible and shitty he's been with that sucks. And it's one of those things where, as I said at the beginning, we have to hold these people accountable. And that goes even for the people that we have previously liked or looked up to or respected or whatever. It doesn't matter. It does not matter what they've done or written or produced or whatever that we're fans of. If they're doing things like this, it's not fucking okay. It's not okay. And we can't just brush it under the rug or ignore it because, I like the story that they wrote. You can't do that. And you have to believe victims. And it sucks. All of it sucks, obviously. I wish that people would just want to act so fucking shitty. That would be the optimal solution. But that's unfortunately not how it is. And so, yeah, it's, I don't know, man. It just, again, it sucks. It's shitty. I want to know more. Geoff hasn't fucking said anything, which really sucks. Doesn't look good. I forgot to just realized I forgot to turn one of my lights off, so the lighting on this whole thing is probably going to be fucked. Yeah, Geoff hasn't said anything about the situation, which is not good. You should say something, but then again, if he says something, it's probably going to ring as a really fucking hollow apology. So yeah, and then also with these stories that have come out about Geoff Johns, it puts a lot more credence into the whispers and the reports and the rumors about his actions on the set of Justice League, and it makes me very much believe, because I will say for a while I didn't want to believe that he was as shitty on the set of Justice League as some people were saying, mainly because the only people that I personally was seeing say that were people on Twitter that were not there. And so I didn't want to put stock in that, considering I didn't think that they knew the situation because they weren't there. With that said, I will fully admit I was probably wrong in that belief, and probably wrong to hold on to the hope that he wasn't doing those things because of my bias for things that he had written. But having more information now, it's very clear and more likely than not possible that he was extremely shitty and very much abused his power and his pull at DC in turning Justice League into what it was, in just having a hand more, just, I mean, like Ray said, just enabling what happened with this film, what happened to the cast and crew, what happened to Zack Snyder, and also evidently doing more than just ruining a film, but also taking advantage of people for years prior. And besides that, I'm sure at this point there's more stories that we haven't heard yet, because this doesn't happen. If there's anything that we've seen, this is not a singular incident. These things don't happen in a vacuum. They are not a one-time thing from people that have abused their power and done this. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think I have much else to say on the subject. I just wanted to talk for a few minutes on it. It's something, just again, the main thing is we've got to fucking, one, we have to believe victims, and we have to hold these assholes responsible. We have to hold them accountable. There has to be repercussions for this, because if there's not, they have no reason to stop. They have no reason to stop acting the way that they are, and the way that they are acting is not okay at all. So yeah, I guess that's it. Not a very pleasant video, unfortunately. Yeah, if you don't follow me on Twitter at Batman Files, I rant like this sometimes on there. You can follow my personal Twitter at APBatman with 2 T's. I'll rant more candidly on there. If you enjoyed this video, I guess leave a like. If you haven't already, subscribe, turn the notification bell on. I'm posting new videos every Monday and Friday. Yeah, it sucks. The whole situation sucks. Don't be shitty. It's so easy to not be a shitty person. It takes more effort to be a piece of shit than it does to not. So I don't get it. But yeah, I guess that's it. Thank you for watching if you made it to the end of this one, and be sure to check out the next one. Later.